Okay, I've just admitted everyone there, Lisa, so people are coming in. If you want to
Perfect.
open up.
Thanks, Guido. Good morning and welcome everyone to our Copilot in Action webinar. We're delighted to see so many people on the call today. So just to flag, this webinar will be recorded so we can share it with you afterwards for future reference, because there's some great information in it. So it could be your repository for Copilot, and then also for anyone who's registered who couldn't attend today, we'll also share the recording with them. So we've got quite a lot of people on the call. So in the interest of time management, we're going to kick off. So Guido, if you could actually just kick off to the next slide, or sorry, click on to the next slide.
No problem.
Great, thank you. So today's speakers are myself, Lisa Hunt. I'm the Microsoft Practice Lead here at Viatel Technology Group, and I'm delighted to be joined by Guido Marchetti, who is the Microsoft Modern Workplace Lead at Micro Warehouse. Guido has an amazing repository of information across Microsoft and modern work, but especially in the AI space. So we really hope you find this session worthwhile today. So if I just go on to the next slide there, just a little bit about Viatel. So Viatel are over 26 years of experience in the Irish workplace and the Irish market. We've over 350 employees, and we work across SMB, so the small and medium customers in Ireland, all the way to enterprise and public sector. So great experience. We're one of key Microsoft partners in Ireland, and we have a number of designations and specializations. So really getting into those AI projects and helping customers on their AI transformation journeys. So I'm going to click on then to the agenda today and what you're all here for. So Guido is going to do an introduction to Copilot. He's also going to walk us through the different versions of Copilot, because Microsoft have announced recently some free versions that we think actually give a lot of value and can also start your Copilot journey within your own productivity or within the organization. Guido is also going to cover the new world of work with AI and also secure AI with Microsoft. So we do see a lot of shadow AI in companies now, and it's great that Guido is going to cover this to really walk through how secure you can be with the Microsoft stack. And then what we're really all here for today, the personal productivity. So what's in this for me? I love Copilot. It really helps minimize the mundane stuff that takes up a lot of my time and gives me more headspace, but also time to get into that creative space that I really like doing. And also the cultural change, whether that's from your own personal experience, but also within an organization. And then where to start. We see customers, they really want to get onto this AI journey, but they don't know where to start. So Guida's going to walk us through that and how to get more from Copilot. And then we have a few next steps to help you along your journey and a Q&A session at the end. But if you have any questions, we will be in the chat. We will get to as many questions as possible, or you can keep them till the end. But this is going to be an interactive session. So please, put your hand up or stop if there's anything unclear. We really want you guys to get the most out of today. So please feel free to come off mute and ask questions along the way. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Guido, and thanks again, Guido.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. As Lisa said, I'm going to talk about Microsoft Copilot in as much detail as possible with the time that we have this morning. And hopefully you're going to kick on past a basic understanding from today's webinar. We're going to try and cover off the topic of this new platform of AI technology that Microsoft are looking to bring into our lives. And To start, just in case some of you on today's call haven't really seen some of what Copilot's capable of, there's a short little video here. It's a little teaser type thing that Microsoft used to introduce people to Copilot and its concept at a high level. So I'm going to play that video now, and hopefully you'll enjoy this.
Whoa. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Stand still, that's the motto, yeah. Brand new bands for the auto, oh. Foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield got, boom. Get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never getting outbid. Said it, never had to shout it. They said I couldn't ever do it, okay, how's this? Fit a week worth of work in a minute. Machine well oiled, you know how I stay efficient. To-do list written, I do this different. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Okay. Look, flows the same now. Paved the way, the snakes and fakes are chased out. Back to back, I changed the pace now. Had to stack the cash until the bank's out. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop.
The age of co-pilots has really arrived. And what that statement means is effectively every piece of software that you look to use in your day-to-day lives, whether it be a Microsoft one or not, you're going to start to see AI to infringe on it. These co-pilots are designed to become personal agents or assistants that are there for you to converse with. And you're beginning to see this across all walks of life. You are already seeing this inside of your WhatsApp. It intruded into everybody's WhatsApp about a month ago. It's that little blue circle, and that's Meta's form of Copilot, for want of a better phrase. You're going to see it in Google searches that you now run. When you now run a Google search, you get an AI summary and a contextualized answer to your search question, and that's powered by Google's alternative to Copilot. And we're going to start to see more and more of this type of Copilot experience and this type of AI come into our lives. Microsoft, of course, talked to us about Microsoft 365 Copilot, and they believe they have an incredibly different type of engagement because they're bringing the power of these large language model tools. These are the type of things that ChatGPT started with almost 2.5 years ago now. The real difference, however, is with the Microsoft offering, it's connected to your data by default. It is connected when you have Copilot for Microsoft 365, it's connected into you, your organization securely, the data you have access to, and in turn, it's now got context of what you do and how you go about doing it. On top of that, it lives inside of the applications that we all love or hate and use on a daily basis. So whether it's Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, it will now surface inside of there. And of course, it's changing how we are searching for information on the internet. I have actually stopped Googling stuff. I've now just start asking very pointed questions to Copilot a lot of the time. And in other times, I do use other tools as well. And we'll talk more about that use of AI in a few slides later because it is happening in your businesses already. But before we get to that point, we're just going to touch off the Copilot comparison because there's a lot of Copilots available, and often customers can get themselves confused when they start to do some homework. So to help you try and understand a few of those things, we're going to touch off that now, and we're going to just highlight. So Copilot from Microsoft 365 is the professional version, and that sits on top of your existing subscriptions. So whether it's Exchange only, whether you're investing into something like Business Standard, Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3, or Office 365 E3 or E5, you can layer Copilot on top of it. And it's now generally available. When it first launched 9 months ago through CSP, that was the first time it was generally available. Up till that point, it was behind private doors and locked down. So it has been available now for 9 months, coming up to 10, for customers of all sizes. But the confusion kicks in because on the left-hand side of this slide, you will see Copilot, Copilot Pro. We get a lot of questions through partners like Viatel from customers like yourselves. Can I have access to Copilot Pro? It is a consumer product. It is not designed to integrate into your business. And the key differences, as you can see for Copilot for 365, which is all the way across on the right-hand side of this slide, is things like Copilot 365 Chat, which I'll talk about in a second, Copilot Pro are not connected to your data by default. They're not going to surface inside of Microsoft Teams, and they won't have enterprise-grade protection capabilities built into them. And some of that is more advanced control of SharePoint sites, team sites, Exchange repositories. These are all services that you get when you start to pay for Copilot for 365, advanced SharePoint management and Teams management to make sure the AI gets extra layers of control. So the ones for business are the two on the right, and I'm going to shift to another slide because there are another two for businesses, and I'll talk you through all of the business focused ones. We start with the one that Lisa mentioned. Microsoft have only recently announced Copilot 365 Chat, which is effectively a rebrand of what was known as Bing Chat Enterprise. That is something that I can tell all of you today you actually have access to already. So it may need to be turned on inside of your tenants. If it does need to be enabled, contact your friends in Viatel and they'll be able to just tweak the settings to make it available for your business. But this is a viable alternative to using free tools like ChatGPT or Google Gemini that I mentioned at the top of it. And the reason that you would look for those is even though we can't have granular level of data protection, Microsoft give you a commitment with Copilot Chat. They're not using any business data you put into it to train the large language models. Copilot from Microsoft 365 is that one that's next to it. That is where you start to get the full experience. And then the other two, Copilot for sales, Copilot for service, and then there's another one, Copilot for finance. They are actually all designed to integrate primarily into Dynamics, which is Microsoft's CRM offering, but it can also support other CRMs. There are connectors, but they've got role-specific capabilities and agent type of tools and services that can be enabled and deliver a richer experience for end users. If you are a Dynamics user and you wanted to see what they're capable of doing, you would purchase those. They include Copilot for 365 and just come with those additional role specific. But the champion one is the Copilot for 365. That's the one that most organizations will start with and start to really drill down into finding out how AI is going to make an impact to their business. Now, we know that AI has come to the workplace with over 75% of people admitting that they're already using AI in work. And worryingly, the majority, a little bit more of those individuals spoken to, are admitting they're bringing their own AI tools to work. And what that is that is effectively they've been exposed to things like ChatGPT, they've utilized it, they've realized it's actually quite useful in helping them do their jobs. They're also using things like Google Gemini because, again, these are freemium services. However, the price of those freemium services is, of course, the data is potentially and is being used, I shouldn't say potentially, is being used to train the LLMs. And that is a problem because now what you've got is you've got intellectual property potentially being used to train an LLM for contextual purposes, meaning that it is opening up that data to anyone then. That is a real challenge and consideration that you as businesses must think about, because the reality of it is most business leaders believe that to remain relevant, they're going to need to look at integrating AI in some way, shape, or form to their business. I've never seen a technology platform garner such interest. The number of people on this call today is a testament to that. It will be quite rare I would have a webinar like this with so many attendees. So the interest is there from your point of view. You are all interested to understand what this can do. However, the middle one is quite interesting. A very large number of businesses, and partially part of the reason you could be here today, is because a huge amount of organizations don't have a strategic plan to implement AI. And I'm seeing that behind so many partners. In Micro Warehouse, we transact with close to 400 MSPs, Viatel being one of them. And the reality of the situation is that customers that are looking to adopt this a lot of the time don't have that structured plan, and they're not seeing the value of it because of the lack of structure. And the other challenge that we're seeing, and it's a very real challenge, is how do you quantify, if you invest into this, that return? And the beauty of it is that Microsoft actually can answer all of those questions with Copilot. It's one of the advantages that they have because it integrates into all of the tools that we talked about, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It's actually quite easy to start to see its impact when you allow people to start to use it. Because it can understand you, your role, and the context of what you're trying to do, and because it can also see your data, you can also get more comprehensive responses that are more business orientated and focused for you. You just need to learn how to prompt it the right way to get the type of responses back that you need. Microsoft can also extend beyond their own cloud. What's really interesting about this is that there's already over 1,400 plus connectors that would allow you to work with Viatel to connect third-party systems into Copilot, positioning the Copilot platform as your user interface for AI. And that's a very, very interesting narrative that Microsoft have, which is different to the rest. Everyone else is kind of talking about their agents. Microsoft are talking about their platform being a platform for all of the AI activity. And that is a big, big difference. You can customize it to that point. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move through the presentation. You can also have the comfort and knowledge that it's going to adhere to the security settings you've deployed in your environment. And we're going to touch off that point in a little bit more detail in the coming slides. And more importantly, to help you measure the impact that we talked about, that last statistic, they give you a Copilot dashboard that allows you to work with Viatel to track the usage, to see the impact that it is having. What applications is it being used by what users? And it helps you identify, are there learning gaps on your journey? And again, working with somebody like Viatel in a structured method will allow you to do that very, very cleanly, helping you unlock the real value of this particular platform and technology. Microsoft have a really interesting angle here where they want their platform of Copilot to become that single destination for all of your AI needs. They're telling you that through the graph and all of the different connectors with Studio, you can not only access the information in their cloud, but you can also potentially extend that access into other cloud-based systems and actually start to get real business continuity and start integrating lots of different flows and processes into their platforms. And of course, it all delivers itself through the trusty apps wrapped in that story of enterprise grade security that you've come to expect from Microsoft Cloud Technologies. And when they think about this, they really see their vision as Copilot to empower every user in your organization. Now, the cynic in us all would say, of course, they would say that, right? They've invested a lot of money. They want to see a return on that cash. But the reality of the situation is you can't turn to Viatel and say, can you tell me how AI will impact our business? What you need to do is you need to work with AI across your business to see how it's going to impact certain individuals' roles and the tasks that they have to do. And that's a key takeaway I want you to remember, because we're going to come back to that point in a few slides later. What we're going to do now is we're going to pivot into three different arcs of story. We're going to talk about the foundation of security with the AI platform with Microsoft. We're going to talk about AI at work, and we're going to touch off the cultural shift you will go through when looking to adopt this technology, because it's going to be very different to every other technology you've looked at. Let's start with the security foundation. And when we're talking to customers with Viatel, we generally tend to get these type of questions coming back. People have got concerns around where their data is the LLM accessing their data? Does it leave the organization? How does that happen? What happens when we bring AI in? Are we going to overexpose information within our business? Will users be able to access stuff that they're not supposed to? Can we see what people are doing? And these are all very valid questions that you should and probably do have. So when we take a step back and have a look at how Microsoft have structured Copilot, what they've done is they've built it on an awful lot of the technology that you may already have. If you're a business premium user, if you're an Office 3, or sorry, a Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 user, you have a lot of security and compliance tools. You have a lot of capability to make your environment as private as you like. And the beauty of it is that Microsoft then make you a commitment that they're developing their AI platforms with responsibility at the core of everything that they're doing. So when we flip that through to what it means is Microsoft enables you to control your data how you please. And what that means is that when you layer Copilot, the AI platform, on top of your Office 365 platform or your Dynamics platform, whichever one you're taking, it doesn't really matter because it will adhere to whatever controls you have in place for user access, for data access and permissions to sites. If you have customer data protection and you've gone to the trouble of deploying things like information protection, data classification, they will all be adhered to by the AI. It can't magically remove them. It can't untie any bows that you've wrapped up around something. It can't punch holes through walls that you have put in place. It will merely live and behave in the exact way that you would expect it to when you give it to a certain user. I.e., if somebody in sales is not supposed to see financial information, they won't. Now, that said, sometimes there can be little misconfigurations in our environments, and sometimes end users can put information in a wrong folder, which then might open up. But the beauty of it is, if you take a structured pilot to start your AI journey, you can actually use the pilot with trusted users to try and find some of those gaps and then work with Viatel to plug those gaps as part and parcel of your ongoing security and compliance piece. What some customers also look at is they actually look at hardening their compliance by maybe looking at some of the tools like information protection, which is the data classification tool from Microsoft, and they decide to roll that out as part and parcel of their long-term wider AI adoption to put additional controls around the data. Because again, if I access a piece of documentation with AI that's highly confidential, because I have access rights to do so, the AI will see we're playing with something that's highly confidential, and then anything it creates, i.e., another document from that source document, it will automatically tag as highly confidential. So it will actually adhere to everything that you needed to do so. We can go a lot deeper into that. It can be a very deep crevice when you step down into it. Viatel are very well positioned to help you navigate your way through that and understand how far down the rabbit hole of compliance you will need to go. But don't let it be a blocker. See your pilot as a way of unearthing any potential gaps that you have in your environment. And then you'll be able to go big when you address them. The next topic we're going to talk about is AI at work. And again, we're going to come back to the vision that Microsoft have of a co-pilot for every end user. And the reason that they talk about this is they talk about it because they know themselves, and I have seen this firsthand as well. When you start to introduce this to people in your organization, they start to unlock personal use cases for this very quickly. And that's where the quick wins are to be had in that area of personal productivity. When you unveil Copilot for 365 to end users, what happens is a percentage of your users are going to get it, and they will become your AI power users. And on average, what we're now seeing is that these individuals that really get their head around the art of prompting, the art of working with the AI tool, start to unlock time saving across their day. It enables them to manage their workloads more efficiently. It's helping them to be more productive and more creative with their thinking process. They start to utilize the AI as a virtual coworker. It's enabling them to spend more time focusing on meaningful tasks as opposed to the mundane day-to-day stuff that we all have to do. Our jobs require it, but they're now leveraging AI to just get some of that stuff done quicker. The last one, again, the cynic in me makes me go, "Oh, I'm not sure about how much I like that." But it does, and I can speak to it because I've been using AI now for the 9 months that it's been available to us. And to be quite frank, if my bosses turned around and said they were turning it off at this stage, I'd probably go looking for another job because my workload will be insurmountable without it. I actually leverage it multiple times over the day to create documentation, to help me summarize next steps with partners after meetings, to actually put plans in it. I'm abusing the life and soul out of it, and it is so helpful. And to give you an idea of some of those things, again, power users started, and I do this, I bookend and I start my day in AI. I actually finish and close and start my day talking to the AI, planning, seeing was there anything that I missed, what do I need to be mindful of as I step into the next door. And it also sends me a reminder most mornings now to just remind me of any upcoming calls because I'm a devil for the school run and then getting caught out joining a call late, right? So it's now staying on top of these things for me. I have also seen this firsthand where power users that get it, end users in your business, they start to then experiment and challenge themselves. And that's the real learning. That's the habit that must be developed when you're using Copilot. You need to break your old habits of what you used to do and pause and ask yourself the question when you've got a challenge or a task. Can Copilot help me with this? And 9 times out of 10, it will be able to. Redesign workflows and processes is the next step people start looking at. When they start to realize what this is potentially capable of doing, then they start thinking to themselves, oh, there's this icon called actions. And actions is the ability to tell the AI to go and do certain things for you. And they start looking at that. And then they start thinking bigger. And then they start coming to the IT team or your partner Viatel and start saying, guys, we have a business process. Can this be automated? And the reality of the situation is that the platform is now beginning to deliver some of those automation tools, and we're going to talk about them in a couple of moments. They'll start to use AI to do lots of things, interact with your customers. I've actually been caught out by a number of my partners and colleagues because my emails have become insanely more polite, right? So they know I'm using AI to curb my enthusiasm. I'm using it all of the time to analyze. We have waves of data about customers like yourselves, what you're transacting through, and we use AI to analyze all of this to look for patterns. And you're going to see a video I'm going to play very shortly in something that analyzing information is key for every business, but it's a very difficult and can be a labor intensive task. And you really need skills in Excel, and I don't have them. I have no problem saying that. I'm really good with PowerPoint. I'm terrible with Excel. But Copilot is making my life a lot easier. And I'm going to talk you through a few things. So you're going to see people find and start to challenge the platform and what they can do with it. And when we step into individual roles, as we mentioned, something that's quite heavy for finance is the analyzation of data. By giving them Copilot and Excel, they can start to just ask the type of questions that you and them might ask each other of the agent and point it at a data set, and it will start to actually work on things. And there's something coming to Copilot called the analyst agent. I have a short little video to share with you guys what that is capable of doing. And that effectively gives people that have access to Copilot the ability to have a virtual data scientist in your pocket. And that's really, really interesting because it's going to leverage tools that are built in to do analyzation of information that ordinarily you'd have to hire specialist skills to do so. Salespeople have to try and stay on top of lots of different things, communicating internally, externally, tying people together. Doing all of that can be quite overwhelming for them. So leveraging AI in their meetings to capture summaries so that they can focus on the conversation. Fantastic tool to have for people. Salespeople are lazy by default. Even when they're taking notes manually, they're doing it half-assed. I know myself. I used to do this. I'd open up a manual that I scribbled notes on, and I'm a little bit bit like a doctor. I'd look at it and go, I cannot understand what I've just scribbled on that page. All of that goes away. So there are use cases across the business, and you'll see that. Even if you look at customer service or customer faced people, again, giving them access to these tools allows them to start thinking about what they have to do from a task perspective. And can they start giving some of those tasks to an AI tool like this to start driving? Now, when we start then shifting towards the cultural shift and challenge, this is where it starts to become very obvious that this gets a little bit different, because this is going to be a new way of you working. It's going to involve both the platform itself being embraced, but you having a culture that enables the embracement of it. It is allowing people to push the envelope of what is going to be possible with this. And a lot of the time when we talk to customers, they ask questions like, who should we give this to first? How do we identify our starting point? Where do we go to get people up and running? And then how do we start to measure it? And what we've been saying to people for quite some time is you need to start thinking about a simple approach. 3 steps is really all it needs. Readiness, asking yourselves the questions of, well, do we know what we're trying to achieve with this? Do we have an idea of what quick wins, midterm wins, and long term wins would be? Then you work with Viatel around an adoption plan. You choose people. And we're going to go a little bit more into what this would look like in a few slides, but you would choose a group of individuals. You give them the tasks that you want to prove the use cases on. And then you go into a measurement phase where you're looking at the impact of it using the reporting tools that Microsoft give you. It can literally be that simple. And as part and parcel of that measurement piece, you would also build in things like security checks. You would also build in things like compliance checks. And you would start to build out a roadmap of where you want to go from your pilot into full scale rollout. Now, before we go into that, what I want to do as well is I want to highlight to people that Copilot is evolving at an enormously quick rate. And the advantage that you have by being an early user of Copilot is you're going to get access to these tools quicker than anyone else in your market space. And that's quite an important thing to know. Nobody likes to be cutting edge, but we're past the point of cutting edge. It is now an established platform and product, but what is coming to it as part and parcel of Wave 2 is going to make something that's already quite powerful even more powerful. And I'm going to highlight 2 things that are coming with 2 videos. The first thing I'm going to highlight is the researcher agent. And this is going to be a tool that will allow senior individuals or dedicated researchers in your team to start running comprehensive research projects in minutes. Ordinarily, this would take hours or days. You might get a junior person to run some Google searches, start collecting information. I'm going to run a video here that shows what this is capable of doing and delivering for organizations. I'm very excited for this to hit my desktop because this is something that we get challenged to do quite a lot with our partners.
Hi, I'm Ashok, and I'm excited to show you our new researcher agent in Copilot. Recent advances in LLMs allow AI to contribute like a team member. We've taken one of these models, OpenAI's O3 Deep Research, along with advanced orchestration in Copilot and deep search algorithms, and optimized it for work. The data you use every day. That's all your emails, meetings, files, chats, and more. Let's take a look. Now, let's say I work in product development and we're entering a new market. So I need help developing a product strategy for our expansion. I enter my prompt and researcher gets to work. It asks clarifying questions as a seasoned colleague would and uses my response to move forward. The agent takes my prompt, understands the task, and constructs a plan to reach an answer. You'll notice it reasoning over all of my work data in the Microsoft Graph, not just one file. Here, we can see its chain of thought reasoning. You'll see it working through the problem in real time. It builds an understanding of my product lineup, references recent meetings,
about that.
and even pulls industry updates from the web. This process takes a few minutes, so let's jump ahead to the result. I got a really thorough response, in line with what I'd expect from a researcher on my own team. I can edit it in Pages where I can bring in my team to collaborate. What we just saw was built on the Microsoft Graph and the web. But Researcher can also be connected to third-party data via connectors and can leverage other agents, like the sales agent, to connect to its rich data and access its logic. Only Copilot knows what matters to you at work, and Researcher taps into that. It knows what's most recent and what files and data and meetings are most relevant to you. With Researcher, now every employee has access to expertise on demand.
So it's a really powerful agent that's going to be coming, and it will be included in Copilot for people that are subscribed and utilizing it. And there's another agent that's also coming. So I'm going to play another short video to explain this. But this is the analyst agent that gives you, as I said, that data scientist capabilities powered onto people's desktop in your pocket to do real-time analysis of full-scale data, whether it's Excel, whatever it is. Let's have a quick look.
Hi, I'm Ashok, and I'm here today to show you our new analyst agent in Copilot. We built Analyst to think like a skilled data scientist, so you can go from raw data to insights in minutes. Analyst leverages a state-of-the-art reasoning model that we've optimized for advanced data analysis at work. It's based on OpenAI's O3 Mini. Now, let's see the agent in action. Imagine I'm in marketing. I'm trying to understand our most loyal customers. I have this really messy data set. You can see thousands of rows and a few tabs across customers and their monthly revenue, and none of it has been cleaned or contextualized. Usually, to make sense of this data, I'd need to ask my colleague who knows Python. But let's try the analyst agent. I don't have to spend time writing the perfect prompt to get what I'm looking for. I'll just ask it to help me come up with an easy way to learn and visualize my customer base. You'll see the agent takes my question, understands the task, and constructs a plan to reach an answer. It also identifies the Python tools it may need to complete the task, just as a data analyst would. It can take any complex data set, make sense of it, and execute Python code to reason through the questions you have about the data. If I want to see more into its thought process, I can always click and see its chain of thought reasoning, as well as the Python code it's running in real time. This allows me to validate and trust in its thinking and approach. Analyst is already on to the final step and starts working on a visualization. Now I've got the answer I was looking for. With Analyst, now every employee has access to their own 24/7 data analyst. It knows Python, it's right within Copilot, and it uses chain of thought reasoning so you can check its work.
So as you can see from those two agents, there's a lot of really clever stuff coming our way through this particular platform. And of course, then that begs the question of looking at the scale of this, quick wins in terms of productivity, even better wins when tools like that, those agents become available to you, where now all of a sudden your finance team can start running advanced analytics across your business. Most small businesses would have to outsource that type of stuff. Now you can give somebody that's clever enough in your finance team access to that agent, and you'd be quite interested to see what type of things they can do. So the question then becomes, how do we start to look at helping our employees thrive by giving them access to these type of tools? And then you step on from there into how can we then use these tools to start optimizing our business and potential processes. And our advice to partners and customers is start a pilot and make the pilot structured. And we don't call it a proof of concept, we call it a pilot on purpose, because a proof of concept stipulates you need to prove that the technology works. This technology works. You need to pilot it to understand the reach it's going to have in your business. And the reason that we say a structured pilot is we would encourage customers like yourselves to work with Viatel to have a look across your business by function and division. Have a look at each particular area and have representatives selected across the business, trusted representatives that you can bring into the pilot and give access to this Copilot platform, while maybe the rest of the business is introduced to the Copilot free platform to get them used to the idea of prompting and using AI. You'll go a little bit deeper with Copilot for 365, and across the business, you should select. I always say to customers, if you can, go two per division. And the reason I say that is individuals will have different experiences with this. Some people will get it and become power users. Others will really struggle to get it and actually struggle to break their old habits and behaviors. So I always say to customers, look at this across your business. Don't let one or two people try to make a decision on behalf of the business because they don't understand all aspects. Understand the type of tasks that these people must do. And then also drill into, well, look, when they're doing these type of things, what type of KPIs can we measure against these tasks that they do? And if we decide to allow them to use AI, can we measure how they're impacted by those KPIs? So again, we're thinking about a structured approach per division, looking at the tasks that they're doing, looking then at creating KPIs to see if we can get quick wins, midterm wins, and then long-term wins will start to come as you start to think about changing business process. And let's just drill into that for a second. I've used the example of sales and marketing. So let's try and bring that to life with sales. You'll start this process with Viatel and you'll look at the key processes and you'll challenge yourselves to say, well, look, how manual are these type of processes that we're seeing already today? From a customer engagement perspective, how are we doing that? Is that a manual process? Is it consistent? Is there quality control, or is it just left to individuals to do themselves? How are they closing business? How are they preparing? All of these type of tools, all the way to post-sales follow-up, which I mentioned already in terms of next steps, actions. Before AI, understand what that looks like, understand how much complexity there is in that process, and then look at it after you've mapped AI in, finding use cases, starting off with lead gen. Salespeople will be able to use these tools to do far more research on the customers they're now talking about. If they're talking to somebody in a particular vertical, they can get AI to go off and get a news debrief on the latest updates that are actually impacting that particular vertical, whether it be global, local, whatever it might be. They can start to improve customer meetings by focusing on it, getting the AI to take notes, and then following up with meaningful action lists afterwards. I won't go through all of this because there's a lot. You get the sense of it. We'll share all of this, but the idea is they'll find ways of making it impact. And what you're then going to do as part and parcel of your pilot is you're going to look at, when you see the Copilot logo, that's off the shelf capability. When you see the other blue logo, that may require some customization with Viatel by plugging in certain third-party tools, or you might end up building specific agents with that Copilot Studio license to enable salespeople with AI to do specific things and tasks. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now in just 1 second. Same for finance. So again, you will do the same thing, and I won't talk through this. It's the exact same process. Before, after. Map it into what's achievable off the shelf and what may need some customization with your friends in Viatel. Really, really simple process to follow. And when you structure it like that, you will, I guarantee you, you will see those returns. You will see the productivity lift using the measurement tools that Microsoft give you. Now, the other element of this is customization. The first gains are your productivity gains. The next then is customization. And you will do that by introducing agents. So this is a topic that if you hear Microsoft talk about it, they will start talking heavily about agents. You design your agents with Viatel or indeed within your own business with Copilot Studio. That comes as part and parcel of it, and it allows you to connect third-party data sources into the AI engine. It allows you to design custom-based agents, or for want of a better phrase, like you see in the researcher agent, you can build your own information retrieval agents, to allow people to get information on internal processes, HR policies, legal advice from your legal team, rather than bombarding them. If you have a small legal team, or if you outsource the legal team, gather up information, put it into a centralized area, so that when management have to go and have a conversation with these individuals, they're having informed conversations. It allows you now to maybe go from 2 to 3 calls to get to the answer, to maybe having 1 call, because you're coming more prepared into those calls. They start from simple retrieval based scenarios to task based. Again, that's now generally available, where you can start to work with Viatel to look at particular workflows that may be able to be processed and automated by an AI agent. And what's coming very shortly as part and parcel of Wave 2 is autonomy, where agents can actually work dynamically and make decisions on your behalf to get tasks done. They could even potentially work with other agents when you've told them to do so. Now, that is only coming over time. It's not there yet to manage people's expectations. But certainly you can look at building out agents to help you get access to information and take a couple of tasks really quickly. And here's just an example of some of the things that you can do. IT help desk, giving them a repository. I've seen organizations in our community build agents to help their help desk answer customer questions much quicker than it could do before. They're connecting to a repository that they were already keeping of known answers. Now you can take the customer's question, give it to the AI agent, get the answer back, and all of the steps they need to follow. Now we're engaging with the customer a lot easier. I've seen in another instance, a partner of ours has actually designed an agent to help them respond to tenders, and they've won business using this agent, which was remarkable. Lisa, you were in the room when he demonstrated that, and he admitted that he went from an average of about 14 days to get an entire tender document ready, to having a first draft ready for review within about 3.5 to 4 hours. That is an enormous time saving. Absolutely enormous. And the good news is that you can also use Copilot Studio to start building agents, or you can use third-party tools. So you may already have third-party environments and tools, cloud technologies outside of Microsoft that have developed agents to integrate into Copilot themselves. So again, working with Viatel to understand how you thread all of this together, following that structured approach of looking at people, the processes that they have to do, identify the quick wins, KPIs, measurement, and then think about going big after you've addressed all of your security challenges. That's where you look to get started. You work with Viatel to build out that case for that AI transformation. It will allow you to know how many licenses you might need to invest in as you go large beyond your pilot. You will have a full understanding of, are you going to see a return for the investment, because you will have confidence that you are seeing a return in productivity and you're beginning to challenge workflows and automation of processes. Get support from the guys in Viatel. They have an incredibly comprehensive offer in this space. I've seen it. They've brought me through it. They are absolutely in a great position to assist you with this. And even if it fringes off into security, they've got all of the skills you will need to go deep into security, privacy, and compliance in your environment. As deep as you want to go, they'll be able to go. And finally, make sure you've got those use cases and the metrics so that you can measure it. We've got a scenario library that we can share with you to help your thinking. The guys can do a whole kickoff with you. And then another key piece that I know the Viatel team will work with us to do is training, end user adoption. That's a key piece as well. Don't forget that particular element. But all of that Viatel can wrap up for you in a nice, neat package. And I am now finished speaking, Lisa. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Thanks, Guido. That was fantastic. And I know I've sat through loads of AI sessions, but I learn every time. So we really appreciate the support. And look, we work really closely with Micro Warehouse to make sure we have the best offering for our customers. As you can see, it's a huge space, and I think Guido's points on, really figuring out what you want to do. We've seen customers, and we call it the machine gun approach, and they actually don't accomplish anything. It's getting those key KPIs that you can measure and manage, and you get the ROI on them, so the investment then is worthwhile. So Guido, we've one question at the moment, and then I'll go to one of the hands up, but Marianne has put in what are the GDPR implications of using an AI transcript. So I was asking my trusted Copilot for that. There are some links, but my guidance, and then you can jump in, Guido, would be the same GDPR guidelines. This is basically one of your employees, so we always treat that as the GDPR guidelines that you have in place at the moment. You ensure that your agent or Copilot is running in parallel with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's any need to treat it any differently. I wouldn't be changing your policies. What you would need to also do is just let people know that obviously transcriptions of calls are being made. You're recording these type of sessions. And once you do that, you give people the option to opt out, right? So they either decide to leave the meeting or they understand that it's just becoming part and parcel of it. But it will come back to your GDPR practices. The transcripts will also have default settings in terms of retention, restoring. If you needed to tweak all of those, again, you could work with Viatel as part and parcel of your compliance, because you might need to make one or two tweaks, particularly if you're looking to either retain or forget information after certain periods. All of that can be done and easily managed.
Brilliant. And we will share the deck and the recording and the links that Guido said. That adoption link has a great repository of all that information there to help. So Deirdre, you have your hand up there as well for a question.
You can unmute yourself now, Deirdre. Yeah.
Hi, thanks a million for that. That was really great. I'm just wondering if you can talk more to specifically Copilot with project management. And maybe Excel, like tracking project management through Excel, not using Monday or anything else, any other agent.
That's interesting. So that is one of those kind of test cases, Deirdre, that you would look to see how useful it's going to actually make your life. So, for example, in project plans, there's usually tasks assigned to people and updates. I know that there is an action inside of Copilot as things stand where you could automate an email that goes out to your team that would actually remind them you need to update such and such by X date. And you can actually set that to reoccur as often as you like. And the AI is now effectively taking that task off you and making sure that the information is obviously up to date. And then when you're inside of Excel, how it would interact, obviously depending on how you've structured your kind of your project management and the layout of the information is going to depend on how well it's actually going to work, right? So I don't know the answer to the question is the honest answer. It will depend on the structure of your data and how it sees it. If it's in a structure that it doesn't like, it's going to tell you out straight, I can't work with this. So you'd have to run a test against it, Deirdre.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
And actually, Deirdre, just to add to that, we had a PM at one of the Promptathon session actually that Micro Warehouse ran for ourselves, and they were able to put all of their project data into a SharePoint, and then they created an agent, and the agent was able then to ask the questions from a project update perspective. And that was done in a matter of minutes because they had all of the information in SharePoint. I was really impressed with that. And they just named their agent, the project name, and then the questions, or to Guido's point, those reminders that you have to send out from a project progress perspective, the agent was able to do that. So, and again, the links that we send out will also help you, I suppose, get started on maybe automating some of those tasks.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Deirdre. And Phil, I see you have your hand up too, if you'd like to unmute.
Yeah, hiya. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Grand job. No, so we're already Viatel was ITC Pro, and we have Microsoft 365 through you. So how do we find out, I suppose, whether we already have Copilot 365, or whether we're just on the first version, the chat version, and then beyond that, if we want to start implementing it, what's the best starting point in terms of getting in touch with the right people in Viatel, just to, I suppose, start the process of introducing it to the team,
Yeah, perfect, Phil. Look, I can reach out to you directly. I'll find out who your account manager is within Viatel, and together we can look at the tenant and see what you're on, and yeah, get you started on that. So that's no problem at all. We'll reach out after the call.
All right, happy days. That's great. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Phil. Are there any other questions or comments? I can't believe, Guido, we have 5 minutes left. I was questioning your slides and your content.
I'm always able to deliver on time,
Great. Well, look. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Just to say, Deirdre, I've got about 1,000 questions, but there are so many questions because we haven't got it. It isn't implemented in our business really. So, but I think maybe the best thing is to wait until someone contacts us to get into it. But it's not like there are no questions to ask. I mean, it's incredible what this thing can do,
And look, my email is there, please, and this check will be shared. Please feel free to reach out to me and I'll get you in the hands of the right person, because there's a wealth of information across the business and we're going through our own AI adoption journey. So even if you need finance to speak to finance, or, marketing to speak to marketing, to get the best out of it from a line of business perspective, that's where we can help too.
And we're finding that type of sharing is really, really good. And Phil, you're right. When you start to play with this, I can already tell you there's going to be even more questions once you start to play with it, right? Because like I said earlier, you're going to uncover power users. Those power users are going to start to push the envelope of what's possible. And it really starts to get exciting and really quite fun. So yeah, do engage with Lisa and the guys, start those type of workshops, start kind of creating those ideas of what you would like to see and bring that to the table. And the guys will be really well positioned then to bring the right people to chat with you. I think Alan has a question.
How are we doing, Guido?
Hey, Alan.
Yeah, just a quick one on AI policies. We're just starting down the road on this now. So, I think probably the first step is to put some sort of AI policy in place, because obviously, as you mentioned yourself, people are already starting to use their own initiative and using ChatGPT and various other things.
Yep.
So we need to get a handle on it. Need to get a bit of control in place. So, I mean, do you have experience, advice on what people have done to go down to start that road of putting policies in place?
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag, Alan. Again, I would suggest speak with your friends in Viatel. What I've seen is some people, they've gone completely gun ho and not worried about it. I think what you need to do is, when you're writing out policies of usage, I think you need to look at your business, the sector or vertical that you're in, right? How you're engaging with people, what type of data is in your business, and then start to think logically about, okay, what would happen to us if something bad happened here, right? And then just approach it from that same type of approach you would when it comes to data compliance. All right, you would put the same type of similar controls. What are you doing around GDPR and all that type of stuff? What are you doing around PCI if that's a problem for you? All of these type of things, you would take the same type of approach. Now, quite recently, last week actually, the government released some guidance to public sector organizations around the use of things like ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, etc. You might even want to maybe rob that and have a look at it, and then decide yourselves what you want to do, because you do need to address the elephant in the room, right? You said it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Your staff are probably using it, right? So the
Of course they
problem
are,
is,
yeah.
right, if you're going to close that door, what are you going to replace it with? Because they'll come to you and say, hey, I was using this, now it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And now you're into an awkward conversation, because now they're admitting to you they may or may not have put data out, right? So you definitely need to have those kind of type of challenges and conversations. I would even go as far as I'd use Copilot to help you do a bit of research, right? Help you do a little bit of research on can it find policies, can it give you some guidance, and then can it actually help you write something? I've seen one partner do that, and actually, what they created with it was actually really quite impressive and very usable. You just then need to communicate that then to your staff, the Donny do's and Donny don'ts of AI.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far, the two things that have been used more than anything else would obviously be ChatGPT, and the other one would be a bot for Teams calls called
Yeah,
Read AI. I don't know if you know that one.
I've seen that. I've seen a few of them.
It's horrendous. It propagates like a virus. So I mean, one thing is one thing like that. What that does. It can put you in a very difficult situation with a client or whatever, with the
It
transcripts it
can.
does and the summaries it does and the little sort of emojis for how people reacted to the meeting and that sort of thing. So, which if people take as well. Well, this has to be real, but how real is that?
And that is one of the concerns. I was dealing with a large retail outlet, and one of their primary concerns about transcribing calls was Irish humor when transcribed
Yeah,
can sometimes read really badly.
yeah,
And of course now you've got documented kind of things. So yes, I appreciate that. And again, you need to take that into consideration when you're thinking about this. Like, one of the advantages of using Microsoft's AI tools to do meeting notes, etc., is that it's inside of that trusted bubble. You can control it, you can wrap it. When you start to bring, because you might end up bringing some third-party AI tools in to augment Copilot as well. And when you start to do that, you just need to come back to the same governing questions you would have when you're choosing any technology platform. Where is the data stored? What is the risk to my business? And then how do we mitigate that risk, or how do we accept that risk? Right. So same logic will apply when you're looking at all of this, Alan. And again, Lisa, I think you should probably reach out to Alan
Yep.
and have a chinwag with those guys as well, because there's some really, really good questions there.
Yep. No, thanks, Guido. I've taken note. And look, we're here to help. And for everyone on the call, thank you for attending today. But again, please feel free to reach out to your account manager or myself, and we'll get you started. And there's a lot of information that can help you for the first step. And thanks, Guido, for today. Really appreciate it. Fantastic information.
My pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you very much. And thank you all for taking the time to join us.
Right. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.